My name is Sarah, and I thought I knew what it meant to be the overlooked sibling. My entire life, my brother Ethan had been the golden child, the one who got the praise, the attention, and apparently the inheritance too. When our grandfather passed away last month at 92, I wasn't surprised by how things played out at the reading of the will. The family lake house in Vermont left to Ethan. The classic 1967 Mustang that Grandpa had lovingly restored? Ethan. The investment portfolio worth over $1 million? You guessed it, Ethan. And what did I get? A weathered cardboard box filled with what appeared to be random junk. To my beloved granddaughter Sarah, the lawyer had read in a monotone voice, I leave my personal box of memories. May they serve you as well as they served me. I remember sitting there in that wood-paneled office trying to keep my expression neutral while my brother shifted uncomfortably beside me. At least he had the decency to look embarrassed. Our parents had passed years ago, and Grandpa was our last living relative. I'd spent every summer with him growing up, helped care for him in his final years, drove 2 hours each way every weekend to make sure he had groceries and his medications sorted. And Ethan, he called on birthdays and Christmas, sometimes. The lawyer slid the box across his desk toward me. It was about the size of a small microwave, taped shut and labeled Sarah in Grandpa's shaky handwriting. There must be some mistake, I said, my voice barely above a whisper. The lawyer adjusted his glasses. I assure you, Ms. Wilson, your grandfather was of sound mind when he drafted his will. He was very specific about the distribution of his assets. I nodded, swallowing hard against the lump in my throat. I didn't care about the money, not really, but the apparent confirmation that my grandfather, the man who taught me to fish, who helped me with my science fair projects, who told me I could be anything I wanted, had valued me so much less than my brother, that hurt more than I could express. Ethan cleared his throat. Sarah, Don't, I cut him off, gathering my box. Congratulations on your windfall. I walked out without looking back, the box clutched against my chest. The drive home was a blur of tears and questions. Had I misunderstood my relationship with Grandpa all these years? Had our connection been one-sided? Why would he do this? My apartment felt emptier than usual when I returned. I set the box on my kitchen table and stared at it for a long time, not quite ready to face whatever disappointing contents awaited me. Finally, with a deep breath, I cut through the packing tape. Inside were exactly the random odds and ends I'd expected. Old photographs in faded frames, a baseball cap from the 1980s, a few dog-eared paperbacks, an antique fishing lure, a small wooden box that had once held cigars. Worthless things, at least in monetary terms. I picked up one of the framed photos. Me, at about 8 years old, sitting on the dock of the lake house with Grandpa, both of us holding up small fish with enormous grins. The memory came flooding back instantly. It's not about the size of the fish, he had told me that day. It's about the patience it took to catch it. Despite myself, I smiled. I continued sifting through the box, each item triggering another memory. The baseball cap he wore when he taught me to drive. The paperbacks we'd discuss over breakfast. The fishing lure from the day I caught my first bass. I was so absorbed in these memories that I almost missed it, a plain white envelope taped to the underside of the box's lid. My name was written on it, in the same shaky handwriting as on the outside. My heart quickened as I carefully peeled the envelope free. It was sealed and surprisingly heavy. Inside, I found a letter and a small brass key. My dearest Sarah, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and you're probably feeling confused and hurt. I know how the will reading went. I know it seemed like I valued Ethan more than you. Nothing could be further from the truth. You were always the responsible one, the kind one, the one I could count on. Ethan needs the safety net of inheritance. You, my brave girl, never did. The key enclosed opens safe deposit box 247 at First National Bank on Main Street. What you'll find there is your real inheritance. One I've been carefully planning for years. But first, I need you to promise me something. The contents of the safe deposit box are yours and yours alone, not your brother's, not anyone else's. You'll understand why when you see what's inside. Remember what I always told you, patience and understanding are the most valuable things a person can possess. You have both in abundance. I love you, my sunshine. Grandpa, P.S. The junk in this box, these were the most precious moments of my life, worth more than any house or car could ever be. I read the letter 3 times, my hands trembling. What was in that safe deposit box, and why the secrecy? The next morning I went to First National Bank as soon as they opened. After verifying my identity and the key, a bank employee led me to a private room with the safe deposit box. "Take all the time you need," she said, closing the door behind her. The brass key slid into the lock smoothly. Inside, I found a leather portfolio and another envelope. I opened the portfolio first. Inside were stock certificates, hundreds of them, for a company called Horizon Biotech. My heart stuttered. Horizon Biotech had been a small pharmaceutical startup when Grandpa invested in it 30 years ago. Now, it was one of the largest medical research companies in the world. With shaking hands, I flipped through the certificates, trying to calculate their worth. I couldn't even begin to guess, but I knew it had to be in the millions, possibly tens of millions. The second envelope contained another letter and a small flash drive. "Sarah, by now you've seen the stock certificates. Yes, they're real, and yes, they're all yours. I bought these shares when you were just a baby, adding more every year on your birthday. I never told anyone about this investment, not your parents, not Ethan, no one. But money isn't the real inheritance I wanted to leave you. On this flash drive, you'll find detailed instructions for something far more important. 5 years ago, Horizon developed a treatment for Lyndon's disease. They shelved it because it wasn't profitable enough. The research, the formula, it's all on this drive. I've spent years collecting this information through my position as an early investor. Your mother died of Lyndon's, as you know. What you don't know is that Ethan has the genetic markers for it too. He doesn't know, and I never had the heart to tell him. The treatment works, Sarah, it works. But Horizon won't release it unless they can charge hundreds of thousands per dose. With your shares, you now own enough of the company to force their hand. You can save your brother's life and thousands of others. That's your real inheritance, the power to make a difference. This is why the stocks had to be yours alone. Ethan would sell them for quick cash. You'll use them for their true purpose. I love you, sunshine. Make me proud. Grandpa. I sat in that little room for what felt like hours trying to process everything. Grandpa hadn't overlooked me. He'd entrusted me with something far more valuable than a house or car. He'd given me purpose, responsibility, and the means to fulfill both. And Ethan, my brother, might someday owe his life to the very inheritance he knew nothing about. When I finally left the bank, I felt different, lighter somehow, despite the enormous weight of responsibility I now carried. I knew exactly what I needed to do. First, I made an appointment with a financial advisor to help me understand my position as a major shareholder. Then, I scheduled a meeting with my brother for dinner that night. I didn't tell him about the stocks or the treatment. Not yet. That would come later, after I'd secured my position at Horizon and ensured the treatment would be developed. For now, I simply returned his call from earlier in the day. "Hey Sarah," Ethan answered, sounding surprised. "I've been trying to reach you." "I know," I said. "I got your messages. How about dinner tonight? I'd like to show you something from Grandpa's box." "That old junk?" He laughed, then caught himself. "I mean, sure, if you found something interesting." "I did," I said, thinking of the photograph of Grandpa and me fishing. "It's not valuable or anything, just a nice memory." "Okay, sure. Murphy's at 7? Perfect." As I hung up, I glanced at the flash drive in my hand. Ethan didn't need to know that his life might someday depend on his overlooked sister, or that Grandpa had seen in me what no one else had: the strength to handle an inheritance that went far beyond money. The junk box sat on my counter, and I regarded it with new eyes. It wasn't junk at all. It was the evidence of a life well lived, of moments that mattered. The houses, cars, and regular stocks that Ethan inherited would fade and depreciate. But what Grandpa gave me, that would change the world. I carefully placed the photo of Grandpa and me back in the box. "Patience and understanding," I whispered, running my finger along the frame. "You were right, Grandpa. They really are the most valuable things a person can possess." And as I prepared to meet my brother, the brother I would save without him ever knowing, I realized that the true inheritance wasn't in a safe deposit box or even on a flash drive. It was in knowing that Grandpa had seen me, really seen me for who I was, and in his eyes, that had been enough to entrust me with everything that truly mattered. My phone buzzed with a text from Ethan, looking forward to dinner. Also, wanted to ask if you'd like to use the lake house sometime. It doesn't feel right, me having it all. I smiled. Maybe there was hope for him yet. Sounds great, I texted back. And Ethan, bring that photo album from Grandpa's study. I think it's time we both remembered where we came from. Sometimes the best inheritances aren't the ones that come with a price tag. Sometimes they're the ones that remind us who we are, and more importantly, who we have the power to become. And sometimes they come in boxes that only look like junk to those who don't know any better.